You are John Romero. You have worked on Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Doom 2, Quake 1, and then you make Daikatana. Yes, it's underwhelming and it's very extensively documented both in websites and YouTube videos what happened with the development of Daikatana, how the teams came and went, how the engines changed, how everything was delayed, about all the internal struggles, so I'm not going to talk about that at all. What I am going to talk about, after just recently having played the game, is about the game itself. Why did Daikatana fail to make us John Romero's female dog? So, the biggest problem with the game is that it is very, very, very ambitious. It's trying to do a lot of things. Actually, it's trying to be 4 shooters in one, with sidekicks, with advanced AI, and everything falls apart. It kind of makes sense in retrospect, but considering that I played the version 1.3, the latest fan-made patch, which supposedly fixes a myriad of problems with the game and still being underwhelming and buggy, I can understand that the original game, which I don't want to play, I don't even want to see, must have been disappointing. Where should I start? The AI very frequently loses its way around the levels. A couple of times they totally just disappeared. I went all around the level and I could find them nowhere, especially in the medieval levels. I don't know, maybe they clipped through a wall or something, I have no idea. One time Superfly just decided to jump in the pit with the trap and stay there, which after frantically reloading I managed to just stop him from going there. Their lines are not, really well written, let's say. I can't say that I was impressed by the writing. It's like, like a 90s macho movie. Oh, I'll get him. Oh, he will get what he deserves. Oh yeah, let's go get him. Oh, what did you do that for? Because I could. And stuff like that. Yeah, not really. And someone could rather, overlook all these problems if the gameplay was like, wow, as you kill enemies, Daikatana charges. And when you use your regular weapons, these enemies are not so tough after all. Other than that, Daikatana itself somehow manages to cut at a fixed distance, although it's a sword, so it should cut along the blade. But no, it doesn't cut along the blade, it cuts only at the edge of the blade. So small enemies, and the game is full of annoying small enemies, and this is bad also. You wave your sword against them, and if they are not at the point of the sword and they are somewhere along the blade of it, you just don't hurt them. You have to go back so that the point of your sword is where they are so that they can get damaged. And the bad thing is that this somehow happens with big enemies as well, like humans. And this was a very big cause of frustration for me. Otherwise, the weapons, which I have to say is very impressive, that you have unique weapons for every episode. This is the main reason why it's like having 4 shooters in one, because you have unique weapons and enemies per period. The weapons sometimes are really well designed, like in ancient Greece, very clever design. Like for example the twin snake staff, which shoots poison that can also damage you if you don't aim well. It's a weapon that is very powerful, yet it has its own cons and you have to be very skillful to use it. I like this very much. And for example, in the latest ice period, in the current time, let's say, the same thing happens with the ice rifle or whatever it's called, which also fires ice to the enemies, which is very deadly, but if you're not careful, it bounces back and can hurt you as well as it bounces around the floor. These are all great ideas. But other than that, there are some not so great ideas. Some regular weapons which lack punch, whose damage is not equal to what you see or what you'd expect from such a weapon. And speaking of damage, the bosses are a great disappointment in this game. Each and every boss was a disappointment. The Medusa in ancient Greece, I never understood when it struck me and how I got stoned to death, and I mean like turned to stone. The medieval boss was just a blunt sword fight. You just went back to avoid the hit, forward slash, back, forward slash, repeat that, it's over. And finally, the final boss of the game was also quite lame, I think. And even so, Mikiko with the sword, because she had the sword and you had your weapon, so you just stand back and shoot her until she died. I expected much bigger and more impressive bosses, to be honest. But as I said, this is a disappointing game. Other than the weapons, I really cannot find anything on the plus side. It had some really nice maybe interactions with the environment, but if you think that by the time it came out in 2000, Half-Life was already out for 1.5 years, and Half-Life really perfected this with these early engines, all the impact of this was lost. I can say that I regret playing it from start to finish. I was hoping that in later levels and stages I would be more impressed or I would find some redeeming qualities, but sadly, no. Only the medieval levels were kind of entertaining, but I guess this is because Romero has an affinity for fantasy. It's well known, also from the various design documents from Quake 1, etc. So yeah, no, Romero did not make us his beats because the game was not good at all. I don't know if it was due to the internal strifes, I don't know if it was due to changing engines, I don't know if it was due to bad programming. My guess from what I played is that it was bad game design from the start and that all the rest was just excuses. The game was just not designed very well. I mean, why not design huge bosses? Why not design impressive bosses? Why not design bosses with special mechanics, for example? And I insist on bosses because I'm an old school FPS guy, and bosses are the bread and butter of the old school FPS. That's why SpirosK got famous, because otherwise the mechanics of SpirosK were awful, but it became famous because of the huge bosses. And yeah, in general, it could do much better. It could do with less extremely small and annoying enemies. It could do with better weapons. It could do without the sidekicks. Actually, I was tempted many times to switch off the sidekicks and enjoy the game without them. But this would make the story cutscenes seem weird and yeah, destroy the whole essence of the game. So yes, it's a sad piece of gaming history. It's too bad that it didn't work out. It could have been a great game if the ambition was a bit scaled down. I am the reckless FPS guy of the Retro Games Couple. That was my opinion of the game after having played it. What's yours? Bye bye.